of potentially nasty equivalent characters. Right now I have it set to try out apostrophe and quotation mark. So I run that, processes my 4 requests, and it comes up with a little HTML output that describes what it found. So this was testing the system that we were looking at earlier, the one where if you typed in apostrophe, it would validate that and kick it out. But if you're testing with something that was an apostrophe equivalent, it would hit issues. So you can see it starts off with apostrophe, trying a few different requests. Then it goes into CAB9, which is the UTF-8 encoding for one of the things. So the person who asked that earlier, there's the UTF-8 encoding for a lot of these equivalent nasty ones. You'll see that there is an error detected. And if we look at the response, we can see within there that there is incorrect syntax near test, unclosed quotation mark before character string. So this is something that will quickly and easily try a number of different characters. You'll see that it's not only CAB9, CABC, CB88, and then a couple of other ones. All of which are going to be Unicode equivalents of apostrophe that when converted to Windows 1252, which is the default code page in English builds of Windows, will become apostrophes and be potentially used for this. The test system that we had specifically did a round trip to Windows 1252 to show this. Same thing would occur if you're round tripping to ShiftGIS or ISO 8859-1. All these things have their own unique set of Unicode equivalents, and this tries to catch all of them. And so it goes down, you can see a couple more come in there. So there's a quick automated test of these sort of things. Any questions about the tool and how it works? Okay. So then oh, did I hear one? Right now, you can email me. There's my, it is not quite ready. I was hoping to have it ready for release at BlackHat, but there are still a couple of rough edges around it. But you can go to our webpage at isecpartners.com or email me here, and I'd be happy to give you either pre-release or final release versions. The big takeaway of all this discussion is that internationalization is a hard thing to get right, and a lot of effort has gone into trying to unify things and make it very simple. With regards to the Unicode standard, I'm not saying by any means don't use Unicode. Actually try to use it and stick with it and validate according to it. I've seen a lot of validation routines that try to take into account, hey, let every punctuation go through, and then try to get rid of, try to get rid of specifically nasty characters. And this is something that the security industry for years has said is a bad thing. Always find the known safe data, and try not to cleanse and identify blacklist data. This is a very good reason why that is the case. If anybody ever pushes back on you, this is always a good reason to, a good presentation to cite of, hey, here's a bunch of different ways you can get past, simply blacklist and cleanse data validation routines. From a defense point of view, one should always do is try to get in Unicode, stay in Unicode, and don't convert otherwise. With my test system here, I do explicitly round trip to 1252 in order to identify. I had to explicitly round trip in order to get something to go wrong, and this is something. Then it was simulating what would happen if it were to go off-site or get persisted into another format. But if I hadn't done that, then my very simple, application server, database server sending out data would have been more resilient to attack. Now, from an attack perspective, certainly understanding that checking apostrophe and hoping that it hits, and if it doesn't, then going on is not going to be sufficient. Really looking at some of the equivalent characters is going to be what is required for a more comprehensive test, and hopefully we'll have some help for you on that in a moment. So this talk went a little bit quicker. I was expecting more questions, but you guys have been a great audience. So go ahead.
Regarding the UTF-8 parsers that drop non-minimal encodings, do you think there's a better way to handle that? Like doing something else with the bytes or bytes a better idea? Or should you just only check, for example, file path validity after you're sure all the encodings were loaded? Is there like a better behavior for the UTF parser? And you should only check for file path validity after the UTF parsers have changed?
Well, the question was with regards to the UTF-8 parsers, is there a better way to handle them than to simply drop the character? And from if you're the application developer relying on somebody's library, the only thing you can do and the best thing to do is to always validate your data at the lowest portion of the stack that you can. So don't wait till you decode from Unicode or from UTF-8 into Unicode to check that. So that's the one thing. As far as what the core library designers would do, there really isn't something that one could say is always better. I mean, as a paranoid security guy, I'd be happy if they'd throw an exception or die or do anything else, but cause issues. But the reason why I think that they've chosen this path is simply because it is a compatibility issue. There are many systems out there that are probably using non-minimal encodings for whatever reason. And to have every database in the world die because Windows changed their default handling for UTF-8 or Linux changed or whatever would probably not have been a very easy pill to take. And every application that relied on that would have to be rewritten. So the big thing to do is just validate your input as close to the bottom of the stack as possible. Any more? Question in the back. I'm sorry, what was that again? You mean if you are running the application on the server, or if you are remote? If you're remote, I'm sure that there are fingerprinting techniques out there, but for the most part, you don't really have to do a lot of detecting. You can often guess. I mean, there's always going to be a set of core supported code pages that are going to allow plenty of attack surface. I mean, UTF-8, all the ISO code pages. If it's a Windows machine, all the Windows code pages, and even a lot of times Linux machines will support those. So a lot of times those will give you enough that if you have the ability to explicitly say what code page you want to be interpreted as, that's enough attack surface. I mean, other than that, that's where the tool comes in, where you're trying to send everything that could possibly go wrong to the system and seeing what it chokes on. If you looked at the output from that tool carefully, you'd notice that there are a lot of things that did not hit errors. Those were just character points that were interpreted as apostrophe on different code pages, and so they were handled appropriately. Of the what's coming back, you mean? Oh, of what I'm sending out. Yeah, if it's a post parameter, if it's a post request, then you can specify in the content type HTTP header the specific encoding you want to be interpreted as. And so at that point, you can specify anything that the server would potentially have. And so the one right there just hard-coded to UTF-8 because I was looking for Unicode to locale-specific code page conversion issues. But and one of the things that has yet to be implemented is the eating characters attacks. One of the reasons why I didn't release it today. And that would be something where you would specifically say, my username equals, hex 82, and leave it at that. That would be just a lead byte by itself. And my code page is shift-gis. And then having that go up to the server and perhaps eating a trailing apostrophe or something else like that in a SQL statement. Now, getting it back, that's going to be server-specific. A lot of things will default to UTF-8 on what they're sending back, but that's not always going to be the case. Anything else? All right, well, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to email me. There's my email there. I have a couple cards and some CDs that we have all of ISEC's talks on. Be happy to answer any questions offline. Thank you.